Grandmama used to pray, oh Lord, please save them from the evil snares and all the dangers that entangle. Yea, though they walking through the valley of the shadows, just prepare and make them fit for every battle, because right, I know they bound to come, and I know they bound to fall, but in your bounty, Lord, preserve their beautiful. Right, we still surviving off of grandma's prayers, surrounded by the jungle and the lion's den. Tread light, cause these traps is inconspicuous. They hide right in plain sight, thinking we don't see them when they linger. Look right beneath the surface, then leave a trail of corpses. Crisis, prices, your life a disposable commodity, like living in a fantasy, conditioned to believe that the system even cares whether selling CDs or walking or driving or reading. Look, they don't even need a reason. It's just you breathing and being black. When it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all, at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this pretty city got me screaming bloody murder. Said it got me screaming. This gritty city got me on some. Look, get your hand up on my pocket. Distraction, so lazy they use the same tactics, like condom with some trinkets. Just don't let them get to thinking. That light bulb gets to blinking. You know niggas and ideas. Oh dear, my dear, my dear. You may not know me, but I know you very well. Foresight. They say hindsight is 20/20. Well, tell me something. We gotta see that history is on repeat, and maybe it takes a beat and a melody to speak a little louder than the message in the clouds or the essence in the air. I swear, my God is just so clear that a system driven by fear can never give us nothing but more of the same things. Oh, when it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming. It's murder. Got me screaming, got me. This gritty city got me on some.
See, Lyndon Johnson, he can always raise an argument about law and order because he never talks about justice. But black people fall for that same argument, and they go around talking about lawbreakers. We did not make the laws in this country. We are neither morally nor legally confined to those laws. Those laws that keep them up keep us down. You got to begin to understand that. For 400 years, he taught you white nationalism, and you lapped it up. You taught it to your children. You had your children thinking that everything black was bad. Black cows don't give good milk. Black hens don't lay eggs. Black for funerals, white for weddings. That's white nationalism. Santa Claus. A white honky who slides down a black chimney and comes out white. We tend to equate progress with concessions. We can no longer make that mistake. You see, when they gave us that nigger astronaut, you said we were making progress, but I told you they were going to lose him in space. He didn't get that far. You put Adam Clayton Powell in office and you couldn't keep him. What you think they're going to do with Thurgood Marshall when they get tired of him? They gave you Walter Washington of Washington, D.C., and you said we were making progress. That's not progress. See, it's no in-between. You're either free or you're a slave. There's no such thing as second-class citizenship. That's like telling me you can be a little bit pregnant.
There are programs that are detrimental to the community that
Peace, good people. Had a little bit of technical difficulties. We are back. We are live. This is RSTV. We're here today commemorating what will be the born date of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown. Uh, as you know, we just took a look at a video dating back, I believe it was 1968, when Imam Jamil, at that time known as H. Rap Brown, was visiting Oakland for the born date of, or for a rally, I believe it was the birthday of Huey P. Newton, Minister of Defense for the Black Panther Party. At that time, I believe he was under house arrest. And he decided he was going to go there and do it. He did his thing. And we'll learn more about that particular speech and more very shortly. As you can see, I'm glowing a little bit today. Don't trip on that. You know, it's just mean my future's bright. You know what I mean? So, welcome. This is RSTV. I want to let you all know that from this point on Mondays, RSTV will be claiming the 8 o'clock hour from 8 to 10 a.m. because we feel like we need to start this week off right. So you know, that's what we're about to do around here. Is everybody good? Can y'all hear me well out there? Okay. I brought a couple guests on, some folks I respect, what we call OGs. When we say OGs, we're not talking about original gangsters, we talking about original gorillas. You know, so I brought on a couple elders, OGs, and folks that I'm honored to call comrades because a couple of them I actually knew about their work before I knew them on a personal tip. So I'm honored and happy to be here today to continue in this fight for our freedom, for our liberation, and for our Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly known as H. Rap Brown. So anyway, I want to invite to the stage tonight man Jalil Muntaqin, Baba Bilal Sunni-Ali, Shafeah M'Bala. How y'all feeling today?
We're good.
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Tired.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Free to land. Hope you're well. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. You say you're glowing, man. What you glowing from, man? You had a good night last night?
Huh? Hey, man. You know, every night's a good night. You know what I mean?
Okay. You know, I ain't mad at you.
We working on this revolution, man. I don't know what you talking about.
Oh, that's what it is? Okay.
A few minutes ago, he said he was tired. Now he getting started. But anyway, man, definitely glad to hear y'all on. I know the mic might sound a little different today, but don't sweat. We'll be all right. You can hear me. That's cool. And we'll just run it from there. I want to, because I think that, you know, me reading bios would be an injustice. You know what I mean? So I think that I can give a brief bio, but I would kind of appreciate if you all, you know, pretty much tell folks what brought you into this space today, the road that brought you to this particular space today, because I think that more importantly than a bio, because honestly, just knowing you all, there will never be a sufficient bio. You know what I'm saying? Folks want you to put a paragraph, a couple lines, or you know, a page to your life or your contributions and the things that, you know, the task that has been given to you. You know what I'm saying? That Allah has given to you. So if you don't mind, I want to start off with Jalil, and we're going to go clockwise. That's
all right. So what do you want me to tell folks who I am? Is that what it is? An intro? That's what you want?
Yeah. If you don't mind, you know, an intro. You know.
All right, brother. A bio we'd be here until 10:30. Talk about my bio. You know what I mean? The times I used to cut grass, you know, for make my living. You know what I'm saying? This is Jalil Muntaqin, veteran member of the Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Army. I spent 49 years in prison as a result of my activities in both the Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Army. I'm a co-founder of Jericho Amnesty Movement. And also one of the organizers for the Spirit of Mandela International Tribunal and building towards what we call the People's Senate. I'm the author of We Are Our Own Liberators and also the book called Escaping the Prison, Fade to Black. I did 49 years in prison as a result of my activities, my work. I come out and I got right back involved, engaged in the struggle. I'm a special project coordinator for an organization called Citizen Action. One of the jobs, one of the goals in terms of Citizen Action is that we are trying to end penal slavery in the country, right? Particularly here in where I live in New York State. Ending penal slavery is a means for which we engage and challenge the idea of mass incarceration. We are challenging to remove the incentive out of penal slavery by challenging the 13th Amendment that informs that prisoners are slaves of the state. And by virtue of them being slaves of the state is making exorbitant profit from free labor, right? And so there's a pipeline, what's called a school to prison pipeline, right, to ensure that our people are held in these penal slave systems for the purpose of them reaping profits from their free labor, right? In essence, it is slavery, right? So slavery was never abolished in the United States. It was institutionalized into the penal system when they promulgated the end of chattel slavery. When they end chattel slavery, they promulgated penal slavery. All right, so let's get that understood. And so where our goals and objectives in terms of our struggle, right now, hopefully we can get more of our comrades across the country to engage in this process, is challenging the penal slave system by demanding the ending of or amending of the 13th Amendment to take the exception clause out of the 13th Amendment. And it has to be done by state. And so what we're doing in New York, there's legislation pending in California and other states around this country to end penal slavery. And this is a way that we challenge mass incarceration. Why is it important to challenge mass incarceration? It's important to challenge mass incarceration because on October 25th, 2021, the International Tribunal found the United States guilty of genocide. And one of the charges of the charge of genocide was that of mass incarceration. And so for us, it's imperative that we remove ourselves from harm, from the continued degree from which we have suffered conditions of genocide. And therefore, we have to challenge these issues of mass incarceration. And therefore, I'm begging, I say this often, right, begging my people to do what they need to do, right? But yes, sometimes we have to do that. You know, we got to plead with our people because we've been colonized to the extent that we have lost our mind, essentially, right, in terms of who we are as a people. And so for us, it's imperative that we encourage our folks to go to 13 Forward, go to www.13 Forward and learn about this campaign to end mass incarceration, to end penal slavery. I think that I'll end it with that because I can go on and on and on, but I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, I wasn't clear. I said a bio, and Jalil read everything he's gonna do tomorrow, next week, 5 years from now. we appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me put in this plug. On Friday, I'll be at Riverside Church along with Jihad Abdul Muhammad, all right, and along with Cornell West and others, right, talking about the issues that we need to talk about. So it's going to be imperative that people get on board with this here action. Friday at Riverside Church in Harlem. Thank you.
We're gonna make announcements definitely at the end of the show as well because we know we have a number of things going on. Definitely appreciate your work, your contribution over the years. Glad to see you on this side of the fence wall. You know what I mean? For folks that don't know, Jalil actually the first podcast he did was with us when we were doing Renegade Coaches. Once he got out, so I want to definitely acknowledge that. He's no stranger to the program. That is, I think we did a surprise party for you on here. I think that's probably the first birthday party. You know what I mean? But we definitely we love and appreciate your work, and we're glad that you're out because you're one of the things that helps to reassure us that our Imam Jamil Al-Amin can be unleashed as well. Baba Bilal, definitely want to, again, no one on this platform is a stranger to the platform. Been working with Baba Bilal since I arrived in Atlanta almost 20 years ago. But definitely for folks who are unaware, if you could, Bilal, just lay out, who you are and your contribution.
I'm on the morning show.
So if you could kind of give folks some background about who you are and whatnot. Shout everybody out in the crib, tell them we here today, and let's see what's going on.
Okay, that was one of my daughters disturbing me at the door, and I'm just gonna plug their podcast, Daughters of the Whirlwind, and that you asked how was I brought into this? They gave a short history of my parents and grandparents and adopted parents, and so I would say check out Daughters of the Whirlwind for a much fuller explanation of who I am. But I like to because children, people who are from a long line of in the communist movement are called red diaper babies. So I guess I would have to call myself a red, black, and green diaper baby because I came in like that with uncles and cousins being a part of the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League. So that's how I came in the world. But just to get to shorten it to what brought me here. What brought me here this morning is like I was a political prisoner at an early age, just like Jalil was a political prisoner at an early age, but he remained a political prisoner of war. I returned to the streets in the early 70s and worked with the National Committee for Defense of Political Prisoners, and then worked with the National Committee for Defense of BLA soldiers, namely Sundiata Acoli and Assata Shakur was the first two when we developed that committee. And I've been working on behalf of political prisoners for over 50 years, and getting ready to write a book about it. Matter of fact, I've been writing a book, and I'm just going to buckle down and get that book finished so it can be out. And I'm a veteran member of the Black Panther Party. I'm a veteran member of New African Security Force and conscious citizen of the Republic of New Africa and a government worker in the Republic of New Africa. As a government worker in the Republic of New Africa, I worked 50 years ago in the Lincoln Detox Program, the famous Lincoln Detox Program, along with Dr. Mutulu Shakur. And today I'm the education coordinator, political education coordinator for the group called BAM, which was a group founded by Dr. Mutulu Shakur, Sekou Odinga, myself, and others. It stands for the Black Acupuncture Advisory Association of North America. And I'm also, what brings me directly here today, I'm also the Amir, that's the administrative head of the Imam Jamil Action Network. I functioned as part of the Imam Jamil's community as the coordinator of the prison and gang program, which is a program our community has, which we have been involved in trying to correct the wrongs that's on the street with many of our youth that's on the street. And we have developed a council, international council for International Council for Urban Peace, Justice, and Empowerment. And we'll talk about that. But the latest thing that we've developed with the Imam Jamil Action Network is one of them is the Black Belt Coalition for Human Rights. The other is the Expose COINTELPRO and Beyond Coalition to Expose COINTELPRO and Beyond, which I'll let I'll let my sister Shafeah talk more about that. And yeah, I just want to end right there so we can get into the meat of the let the introductions finish and get into the meat of the show, because there's a lot to Imam Jamil's life. There's a lot to Imam Jamil's life, and one thing I want to point out that Imam Jamil is the Amir of many communities across the country, and as well as in the Caribbean, as well as in Europe, and as well as in at least West Africa. That's in the movement that's growing. It's a movement that started a long time. It's a movement called the Darul Islam, which Imam Jamil joined when he took his Shahada, when he made his declaration of faith. But now there has developed a new Darul Islam movement, which he is the Amir of, and a naive representative of Imam Jamil is Imam Isa Abdul Karim of Roosevelt, Long Island. So just wanted to get all of that out there as an introduction to who I am, who IJAN is, and who our community is. Thank you. I yield. I've learned to say.
I say that too.
That's where we got it from.
Baba Shafeah.
You got it from you?
I don't even know what to say coming behind my brothers. Thank you for Kalaji. Baba Bilal put me on this program. I don't even know how to follow Baba Bilal and my brother comrade, Brother Jalil. But I do want to say I'll try to hang in there. My name is Shafeah M'Bala. I am currently Southern Regional Coordinator for Imam Jamil Action Network, and I guess that's what's brought me here on the program today. I have to say that I got to be here probably because starting out as a student activist on Long Island, in Roosevelt, Long Island, and also dealing with political prisoners and Black political power in Roosevelt, which was an unincorporated Black community with no ways of expressing, the vote, the power of the community. And that's how I got involved. But even more so, the combination of effects by the Republic of New Africa, of which I became a conscious citizen when I was 17, the effects of Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. I had teachers who were members of SNCC as mentors who just fed us all kinds of, we were reading Fanon and et cetera, while we were in high school and raising a little bit of cane, but also because they were also close to who was known then as H. Rap Brown. And they used to tell stories about H. Rap Brown and talked about his character, talked about his strength, his standing on truth and power. And, it was those things, those characteristics, that fighting spirit that inspired me, even starting from high school. So I have to give much credit to the combination of Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the Black Panther Party. In fact, it was Safia Bukhari, then known as Bernice, and Sam Napier, who used to bring Black Panther Party papers out on Long Island, and we used to sell papers out there. And so I was just blessed to be exposed to so many folks who mentored me. Queen Mother Moore, we were blessed to sit at her feet. Queen Mother would come out and she would give us lessons, and she would, give us direction. Later on, I became a member of the African People's Party, Philadelphia, and in 1980, the orders came about moving south because we understand that the majority of our people are in the South, and so we made that move in 1980. Since then, become a member of the Black Workers for Justice, and I'm part of the executive committee and a number of other functions and responsibilities there. 92% of our people are Black workers, either looking for a job, had a job, used to have a job, want a job. And so we have that particular kind of relationship within the internal colony of ourselves, you know, as a nation, oppressed nation inside the United States, and a domestic colony. And so we've always had that that view. And so if the majority of our people are workers, then we need to address the issues of our people, what conditions we are, food, clothing, shelter, how we work, how we live, and learning and bringing back our fighting spirit, both in the community and on the job. So Black Workers for Justice is one of the strong founding members of the North Carolina Public Service Workers Union, more than 2,000 members across North Carolina. It's also one of the founding anchors of the Southern Workers Assembly. And so we do organizing, you know, at the workplace and in the community. But I've also, you know, gotten back to the other side of my work is on political prisoners and Imam Jamil. And as a Muslima, Imam Jamil is my Imam, and I'm a part of New Darul Islam movement. And, you know, in the spirit always of not leaving any soldier behind. You know, first Imam, fighting for Imam's freedom and all political prisoners. So that's how I got to be here, other than being ordered to be here this morning. I was voluntold that I would be here this morning. So I'm very humbled, Kalanji and Jalil and Baba Bilal, you know, to be even in y'all space. And I, you know, I can't even say thank you.
Nah, you know, Shukran for that. I think that the most important thing that I've heard from the three of you, and I hope that our audience takes away, is that it is a history of work. It is a history of labor. You know what I'm saying? Even with Jalil, and I don't know if folks caught that, you know, being behind the wall 50 years. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he literally was locked up when I was like 8 months old. And when he got out, I was 50 years old. You know what I'm saying? So just to give context, my entire life that I can remember, this man was behind the wall and he didn't get out saying, I'm just gonna get a job and I'm gonna sit down somewhere and relax. You know what I'm saying? He did what we call the Harriet Tubman Code. He reached back for others behind the wall. You know what I'm saying? He didn't just say that I'm just going, you know, I'm out. So, you know, man, you know, good luck to y'all. I'm gonna pray for you and all of that. Like you, Shafeah, you know, Imam Jamil is my imam. You know, I took my shahada in that community that he built, you know, with folks like Baba Bilal there, you know, and it was his, to be quite honest with you, you know, I would listen to Malcolm, I would listen to Imam Jamil and others, and, you know, like many, when it comes to the whole concept of quote unquote religion, you know, it's like, well, I don't understand why an individual would want to go in a certain direction or whatever the case is, because we all find ourselves at some point arguing and debating and discussing and, you know, going through all of that stuff. But I think it was Revolution by the book that kind of sparked my interest to take it a little further. You know, I want to start off, and again, you know, Shukran for you all getting up early this morning to you know, to hop on here and be voluntold. I think all of us was voluntold, as you said. You know, my phone call was like, okay, what time, what day? You know what I mean? We'll know, are we available? But and I appreciate that. I had the opportunity to serve with Baba Bilal and Saeed and others with the International Committee to support Imam Jamil Al-Amin back in, over a decade or so ago. And, just knowing the impact that Imam Jamil had on not only Muslims, but on our people worldwide, I was always shocked that his name didn't ring bells like El Hajj Malik Shabazz. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, he would be the closest thing to a Malcolm alive today. I want to start with Baba Bilal. I know you have history with Imam Jamil before he was an Imam. You know, I know you had history with him, just coming up movement wise, so on and so forth. So coming from you as not only, a brother and comrade of his, you know, give us an understanding of who H. Rap Brown, uh, or Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown, is, and if you could take it from that history, from the beginning of his activism, because I think that folks they don't often get to hear from the quote unquote horse's mouth.
Okay, thank you. First, let me say that I seek refuge in the law against misleading and being misled. I seek refuge in the law against betrayal and being betrayed into ignorance by others. I ask the Lord to guide my heart and please guide my tongue in the thing that I'm going to talk about this morning. And I pray that the things I talk about, that all of you and all listening audience finds benefit in. In my introduction, I said that I was a veteran member of the New African Security Force, which is one of the military arms of the Provisional Republic of New Africa. And as a New African Security Forceman in training, we were asked to do research on people that we considered Black militarists. And one of the names that our commander, Elijah Degbalola, put on the board was H. Brown. And we were told to study him as a Black militarist, which we did. And that led me to understand that he was leading the self-defense aspect in the voter education, in the realm of voter education. He was the state chairman of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, when they had developed the forerunner to the Black Panther Party, an active forerunner to the Black Panther Party, which was called the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, which used the symbol of the Black Panther, and actually had a Black Panther ballot, which they used for voting, and taught voting as a block, not voting as just to boost somebody's career in politics, but voting that the community would come together and choose who they wanted to vote for, and not just vote for people that was presented them, but to take voter education that seriously, that they would take voter registration that seriously, and use voting as a way to improve the community and to create self-determination for that community. A much different outlook than what voting is now. But one of the things that was prevalent in putting forward that level of voting on the community level was that to teach people voter education, you put your life on the line, and the Klan was against them, the local sheriff was against them, and they established rules. Well, they were in Whitehall, Alabama, which is a Black community, and they had rules in Whitehall, Alabama, of how you come into the community, how you come in there. You know, you got to blink lights twice, blow the horn, and then it was a couple other procedures. Else you didn't get no further if you tried to come in. And they developed this. They developed armed self-defense. So like in many communities, when the Klan would the Klan would scare the people from going any further. But in Whitehall, when the Klan shot forward, they shot back, and that's the only shooting that we know of Imam Jamil being involved in, that we're proud to say he was involved in, and he led that aspect of self-defense in favor of promoting voting and self-determination for our communities. So I got to know him personally, as H. Brown. After studying him and admiring him, I got to know him personally when he came to New York. He then the national chairman of SNCC, and when he came to New York, and he was, he was like a regular guy. He played basketball on the streets, and I think whenever we would meet and say, well, where we would meet, it was never like the library or it was never like the library or this school or that school. It was always this lounge or this bar or somewhere where common people met. And then when we would meet, sometimes we would meet in a place that sold alcohol. He wasn't drinking any alcohol. He wasn't drinking any alcohol, and there were things that we noticed about him. Because many of us that I associated with at that time we were part of the Denye Allahu Universal Arabic Association, which is the oldest community of indigenous Africans following the Sunnah, the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we would say about H. Brown that, man, this guy is like a Muslim. He don't drink, he don't smoke, he don't cuss. And every time he says he's going to do something, he does exactly what he says he's going to do. And if we say we're going to meet at 8:00, 7:55, he'd beat it. He was like, he was on it. So I was, very proud to, and I am very proud to be standing behind him. That he not only became a Muslim, within a short while of that time, he became a Muslim leader, and it became a national and international Muslim leader, and he was the Muslim leader in the community that I moved to when I moved to Atlanta from New Orleans, and have been with him ever since. I believe when I think I was walking down the street and he called out to me, was I hungry? He said, are you hungry? He said, go in, something to eat. So, wow. I said, yeah, this is pretty good. And one day I said, I'm doing okay. He said, no, how you doing? I said, I'm doing all right. He looked at my face and he handed me a $50 bill. He said, I think you could do it. He said, I could tell by the look on your face, you could do a little better. And so he didn't, it was like no hesitation with him. And ever since then, I know a lot of people talk about, he asks, how are you doing? And what can I do for you? He not only would say that, but he would be willing, he'd be ready to do it and doing it for you. And you know, a lot of people know the history of him organizing people, causing many people to take their declaration of faith, and bringing about education in people where they raise their level of struggle, or they raise their level of we call common struggle to a level of conscious struggle, and move from selling dope or using dope or other things that was negative to the community, move to delete that from their lives and become a positive part of the community. And so he's been, he as a Muslim leader, he's been everything that we would want, and still leads that same level of political fight as well. He's, he represents us. He represents our community well, and he represents our community even in prison. I mean, the reason he was moved out of prison, he's a state prisoner in federal custody because the state of Georgia, the Muslim prisoners in the state of Georgia, wanted and had drawn a petition to demand that he be the imam of all Muslim prisoners in the state of Georgia, and that was just a bit too much for them. That was just a bit too much for them. So they put him into federal custody, like many of our political prisoners, many of our who are part of the Black Liberation Movement have been have been taken into federal custody, even though they were prisoners of the state that they were from, that they were organizing in. So those are that's just part of the history that I could give, but wanted to point out that his time right before he was captured. In fact, he was captured in Whitehall, Alabama, where he had, as a young person, developed relationships by being involved in that voter education struggle and being involved in that self-defense posture of the voter education, voter rights movement. And he was developing a community in Whitehall, Alabama. The mayor of Whitehall, Alabama, has taken his shahada. That was Johnny Jackson at the time. Many young people had taken their shahada because he was the other thing I didn't mention about his career was that had he not been involved in the liberation struggle, he probably would have been one of our best athletes, because he has a athletic background in basketball, football, track, and he coached younger people in basketball, football, track throughout all his life. And that's what he was doing. His main activity in Whitehall, Alabama, in Lowndes County, Alabama, as an older man, was to develop those skills amongst the youth. And many of those youth took their shahada, and that there was a growing community in Lowndes County, Alabama, specifically in the town of Whitehall. And at the time of the shooting incident, which he has been blamed for, which another person has confessed to,
let's
celebrate our first Eid al-Adha in Whitehall, Alabama. And that was the beginning. The community was developing, and we were going to have our first Eid al-Adha that next morning.
right.
So I'll just want to stop there, because I could go on, and we only got 2 or 3 hours. So
It's all good.
I don't want to take up 2 or 3 hours or 4 or 5 we got to be on this morning.
Well, if you do past 3 hours, you, Jalil, and Shafeah will be on here, and I'll call y'all back. But now, so I want to we're definitely gonna touch into get on. I want to work our way to the actual quote unquote event. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so much more into it. Jalil, I want to with you like we mentioned to audience. You were part of movement work in New York, and we know that you were shipped all over the country as well. I mean, I know you were. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were like neighbors to folks like Charles Manson and Michelle McGee. Is that right?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Though Charles Manson. Yeah. Charles Manson. When I was in San Quentin, I was locking between Charles Manson and our dear comrade Rochelle McGee. I was like right in between the two of them when I was 19, 20 years old in San Quentin Adjustment Center. They had me right in the pits of San Quentin prison as a result of my activities and engagement with the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army. So at that point in time, yeah, I had some contact with Charlie, but more so than my contacts with Rochelle McGee. In fact, when I was in there, Rochelle McGee was one of the persons that encouraged me to file the first petition to the United Nations, the U.S. Prisoners Petition Campaign to the United Nations. He's one of the individuals to encourage me to do so, to put forth that campaign. That was sponsored or was inspired by Yuri Kochiyama, who at the time was one of the leaders of the National Coalition of Defense of Political Prisoners, who had sent out a newsletter that mentioned the UN campaign, mentioned the necessity to go to the UN based upon the direction of El-Haj Malik Shabazz, right, who said that we need to take our struggle to the international community. And so as a result of that, I discussed it with Rochelle, and Rochelle said, take it up, send my proposal upstairs to Geronimo, because Geronimo was on the second floor of the Adjustment Center, and for him to review it. And Geronimo said, yeah, go for it. And that's when I started the U.S. petition campaign to the United Nations, the first one, prisoners petition campaign that was ever heard and recorded by the United Nations. But in contrast to Imam Jamil Al-Amin, I didn't meet Imam Jamil Al-Amin until December 15th or 20th of 1972, when I was transferred out of the Adjustment Center to New York State for the purpose of the trial of the New York, which was originally New York 8, returning to the New York 3. At the time, they put me into the old Queens Detention Center, and it was on the floor. There was only 3 people on that floor, right? And that was a notorious bank robber, Jamil Al-Amin, Imam Jamil Al-Amin, and comrade Max Sanford, also known as Muhammad Ahmed. Now, Max Sanford was the head of was the leader of the Revolutionary Action Movement, RAM, and he was in there for those activities. And Jamil Al-Amin was in there for allegedly engaging in a fight combating drugs in Harlem, in the Harlem community, combating drugs and trying to get rid of drugs in the Harlem community. And therefore, he was in jail for that. And so that's where I met him for the first time. At that point in time, I thought I considered myself to be a black communist. I had no idea what Islam was or any inkling as to this idea of Islam. But I used to see Muhammad Ahmed and Jamil Al-Amin pray 5 times a day, right? And that was disturbing for me. Allegedly, it's disturbing for me because I didn't understand why the hell we doing here praying when we're supposed to be fighting, right? Y'all getting on your knees and praying and carrying on to this God, right? When we're supposed to be putting up our dukes and taking care of business, right? Brash, young, revolutionary. So in 6 months of being with these 2 brothers, right, who I recognize being icons of the movement, and my young pup, being a young pup in the movement, right, these were the icons of the movement. Muhammad Ahmed of RAM and Jamil Al-Amin, Imam Jamil Al-Amin, who had been the leader of SNCC and also the Black Panther Party. and was engaged in the struggle for real, for real. And so for me, looking at these two guys and seeing them getting up and praying and had that kind of discipline made me inquire as to what this Islam is about. After 6 months, because I'm a hardhead, you just ain't gonna tell me anything, I'm gonna go for it, right? After 6 months of debate, right? After 6 months of debate, they persuaded me and convinced me that this Islam thing is about happening. This real, okay? And I took my shahada with the prompting of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, who is my national imam. Now, let me make a caveat to this. And because I reviewed him and thought about for a long time, right? Why did they target him at the time that they did, right? And I've come to the conclusion that because there was a rotating a national imamship that was being developed at that time from Warathin Muhammad, Imam Talib, Siraj Muhammad, Siraj, I can't remember, I think Wahid, and yes, that's right, Bilal. Yeah, good. I didn't hear you, Bilal, but I saw your lips. Okay.
Siraj Wahaj.
Yes, it's Siraj Wahaj, right, and Imam Jamil. Thank you, bro. Right. These four was evolving into a national rotation, national imamship, right? And at the time that it was time for Imam Jamil to take that role, right, was also the time when they was about to invade Iraq, right? Iraq, and my thinking in regards to this is that they didn't want his voice out there at the time when they were going to make this move to Iraq and be able to arouse the Muslims in support of other Muslims who were being attacked by U.S. imperialism. And so in my thinking, right, and trying to understand why he was targeted at that time for a crime that we know he did not commit, right, that he wanted to remove him. They want to remove him from the national scene. Okay, they did not want Imam Jamil Al-Amin to become the national leader for the Muslims for the period of that term for this rotating imamship and building toward a greater unity under Dar Islam or under what's his name? Wallace D. Muhammad American Muslim Mission. Okay, and that development, was going on in the areas. And so his voice was very important in the transitioning of many Muslims into a national identity. And I think that's one of the reasons why he was targeted. Needless to say that his history, right, from evolving from Rap Brown to Imam Jamil Al-Amin has been consistent in regards to his opposition to white supremacy, his opposition to capitalism, the opposition to imperialism, right? And so for this understanding, he has always been a thorn in the side of the United States, right? I'm going to take one more point. All right. I think it was in Ohio or Cincinnati that he made a speech, right? And then after the speech, after he was gone, left the state, right? And went someplace else, the people in that city had a riot, right? They tried to blame him for inspiring the activities that was going on in that city, that the young people rioted. And so they created a law called the Rap Brown Law, right? That in any time that a person make a speech, make a presentation, and people respond to that, then you can be charged with insurrection, right? That's called Rap Brown Law. What you say, sister?
Cambridge, Maryland, I believe.
Cambridge, Maryland. Okay, Cambridge, Maryland, right? And it came with the Rap Brown Law. Okay, this is how powerful he was in terms of his oratory capacity, right? Like El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, right? And his capable of analysis and understanding the system and being able to address those issues to our people, to speak in their language that they understand. That's the reason why he was known as Rap. One of the reasons why he was known as Rap. Because he's able to lay it down. Very poetic in his presentations and making the connections between our everyday lives, right, and the quality of life based upon our subject to national oppression that we continue to suffer in this country. And so, for me, he will always be my imam on the basis of not only his being a Muslim, right, but his work. His work ethic, his love for his people, right? His determination to continue to contribute to the overall struggle and for the liberation and independence of New Africa. And so that is my story in regards to my personal relationship with Imam Jamil Al-Amin and how he motivated, inspired me to also become, quote unquote, a revolutionary Muslim.
Definitely appreciate that. You all have to excuse me. I'm having some internet problems over here, so I had to switch it to my phone, but it's all good. I am here. And I appreciate what you just laid down, Jalil. And indeed, that was Cambridge, Maryland. I think, Shafeah, I think I heard you say that as well. I was kind of choppy, but I want to, excuse me, and also acknowledge Muhammad Ahmed, formerly known as Max Stanford, who is still alive and well up in Philadelphia. Another one of my OGs or Jegnas who I've learned a lot from, and who has contributed to our movement, to our People's Liberation Movement. One of those names that the state would love to bury, and we won't allow that. So actually, there's an interview on a platform that I did with him probably about 12, 13 years ago that I would direct you all to, to check out, because again, he's another one of those unsung freedom fighters and liberation heroes, for lack of better words. Mama Shafeah, so, you mentioned a lot of, the inspiration coming from Imam Jamil and his work. And I know that Jalil just, from his vantage point, he spoke about, why he would feel that Imam Jamil would be targeted. I want to ask you, I kind of want to just get right into the story. I know Baba Bilal had started on it, but let's talk about March 16th, 2000, because for many checking this out, they're hearing all these stories, and if they don't know anything about H. Rap Brown or Imam Jamil Al-Amin, it can be taken in any direction. So if you don't mind, give us a recount of the activities of March 16th that has also led us, the four of us, and those that are checking this platform out, and those who will be checking it out in the future. How did March 16th lead us to where we are right now?
So, Kalonji, I tell you what, before I throw it over to Baba Bilal to do that, because he was in Atlanta and in West End on March 16th, 2000, something Brother Jalil just raised, and that the question of a quote unquote revolutionary Muslim. There are many Muslims, who were put out there that is a contradiction to be revolutionary and be a Muslim. And I think we would remind ourselves first and other folks that, our deen commands us to stand for justice. We are commanded to do that as Muslims and to speak against injustice. And if we are unable to stand to act against injustice, then we are supposed to speak against injustice. And if you're not able to speak against injustice, then you are supposed to hate it in our hearts. That's in Quran, and that's exemplified by our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Imam Jamil adds, why would you want to be known for having the weakest stance? So for me and many of us, it is not a contradiction to be actively involved in standing against oppression against any human being, and especially to stand and including fighting for the liberation and, in fact, a statehood for our people. There's no folks don't see a contradiction when the Palestinians stand and fight for their land and, make salat. So the question becomes, why is it a contradiction for those of us who are, consider ourselves New African, and even not New African, but, wanting to free our people in whatever way we understand? Why, is this contradiction, this attack on those who have dedicated our lives and have our understanding that the way that we do the work, in addition to studying, in addition to praying, in addition to, all of the 5 pillars, and carry out the practice of fighting against oppression and for humanity and for our people in specifics along with that. So I want to throw it to Baba Bilal, but I wanted to, to jump on Brother Jalil's, kind of slid that in there. And I think that it's really, really important. And it plays on what follows up his point about Imam Jamil's stance historically and contemporarily, and it plays on or points out, the moves, the machinations, of the state and U.S. imperialism. And it's not a contradiction to have an analysis of economic systems and political systems while we also carry out our deen. And so, I just wanted to put those things out there, as we carry out this work and we go into, the details of Imam Jamil's case. So, and with that, I'll throw it to Baba Bilal, who was there in Atlanta, in West End, on March 16th, 2000.
And we appreciate that, that caveat. That was very important, Shafeah, for and definitely, needed to be said. So definitely appreciate that. Yeah, Baba Bilal, knock it out the park.
Okay, yeah, I caught that, Sister Shafeah. Yeah, I was in the masjid at the afternoon prayer, at the Asr prayer, and Imam Jamil led the prayer, and we understood. Most of us had an understanding in the community that be leading the Maghrib or Isha prayer, that he would probably be headed to Whitehall, Alabama. He would probably be headed to Whitehall to get ready for the Eid celebration that I had talked about. I had gone to a meeting. Dealing with some other social issues in the Atlanta community, and when I came back, my practice was to go to, when I come in the neighborhood from another neighborhood, or if I come in town from anywhere in the world, I would usually go to the masjid and make salat, but it was late. I was realizing that the time for salat, I was late, so I said I would go home, check on the house, make salat at home, and then come back in time for Isha. At the door, my door, I heard a loud explosion. And I heard, and my wife, who was on her way to Cuba that day, my son met me at the door and told me that my wife was returning home, that she wasn't going to Cuba. And I wondered, why the change in circumstances, why, if there was if the flight was late or delayed, why didn't she mind her? return home. However, when she did return home, she had a hard time getting in because it was police blocking everywhere. So, in getting back to hearing the explosion and gunfire, I made salat at the house, and then I headed down toward the masjid, where it was a lot of big. It was a big cloud of smoke in there, and there were people on the street, people not on the street, telling people to get off the street. And I stood across the street, leaning up against a lamp, and I was wondering why they never came and told me to get off the street. And that made me understand they had operatives, like when the police have operatives on the street and they don't know who they are, they don't approach everybody. So I just stood there and watched, and I didn't see any police cars. I didn't see any ambulance coming to pick up the. I didn't see that. They said that Deputy Kinchin was fired on, and that they claimed he was shot in his penis, in his groin area. And if you could take a quarter or a bottle top and throw it in somebody's groin area, and it's gonna hurt. And I didn't hear any yelling, like somebody had been assaulted in their groin area, So all the things that I began to hear the next day, I knew were lies. And also that one of the reasons that my wife was going to Cuba was that she was a student of the mysteries of Ifa. And as a student of the mysteries of Ifa, she had disciplined, and she was disciplined in what's called as defining the future. They were saying that Imam Jamil had been shot. And so the first thing we asked was Imam Jamil in fact? The answer we got was no, he had not been shot. So I'm saying, wow, why is this being perpetrated? Why are we being told this? The police came to the house, and again, they never said nothing to me in the house. They were just searching. They didn't come in the house, but they were searching, crawling on their hands and knees, and I don't know what they were looking for, but that was their, strange conduct when they came to the house. When then then we were hearing that they were looking for Imam Jamil, and the police came to the house directly across from me, which was owned and lived in by another Muslim family in the community, where Imam Jamil's wife, his second wife, Amira at the time, Amira Al-Amin had fled to, and the police had come there, and they were demanding that, that they be allowed to come in. And so myself and my son, we went and approached the porch, and we came on the porch, and we told them to dismiss themselves, that and they said they were going to come in, and and we told them, that it would be best if they go on and dismiss themselves, and, not disturb not disturb this family. And they said, do you know where Jamil Al-Amin is? And they said, if you know where he is, please tell us and tell us, because they want to kill him. And I said, wow, this is very strange. The police are looking for Imam Jamil. The police is putting up checkpoints all over the community, and the police are saying they want to kill him. They're not saying that we want to kill him. So it made me understand, hey, there's another entity in this whole search for Imam Jamil. There's something else amiss than this. And later on, we found out that other entity was Agent Ron Campbell, a rogue agent, who had been known for various crimes against humanity and violations of federal law and violations of FBI procedure. He was on the scene at the time of the shooting, and he rode down to Alabama, not with the FBI, but he rode down in his own automobile. And this person got separated from the search team when they were in the woods searching for weapons. And this person, at various points during the search, he would call out to the team, "Hey, I'm over here, and you should see what I got over here." And when they would get over there, they would find a weapon, But none of these weapons would have any evidence of ever being held by Imam Jamil. And meanwhile, and so this was going on for several days after the incident. But on the night of that incident, the person known as by various names, by James Santos, by Otis Jackson, Silas Muhammad, and those are three names that I know of that he went by. He was on parole. He was on house arrest, and he had missed the time when he was supposed to check in. And when he was finally checking in, he told him that the reason he missed the time that he was supposed to check in, that he had been in an altercation with police officers in Atlanta, Georgia, and he was pretty sure that he had shot 2 officers, and he was shot himself. And they didn't take him into custody. As a matter of fact, they didn't take Imam Jamil into custody till 4 days later, 4 days after this person had confessed. In fact, Channel 11 even interviewed, when this person went and had some friends remove the bullet, and he came out on the street. Channel 11 interviewed him, and we have videotape of Channel 11 interviewing him and him saying on national TV that he knows that Imam Jamil did not shoot anyone that evening. And he was asked, would he put his hand on the Quran and swear to it? And he said, yes, he would. They said, would he stake his life on it? And he said, yes. He said, yes, he would do that. And he said that information would come out during the court proceedings, which would show that Imam Jamil was totally innocent. However, they took Imam Jamil into custody 4 days after this was broadcast on television by the person who has confessed to doing the shooting. 4 days later, they took Jamil Al-Amin into custody anyway. And they didn't take Otis Jackson into custody till maybe a week after they took Imam Jamil into custody, even though he had clearly violated his parole. So
I want to ask you, not to cut you off, but there was some discrepancies. I know that one of the things that they said was that the shooter was about 5'8" or 5'9", and Imam Jamil is a big height difference. Can you speak on that? Because I know that one of the victims, the quote unquote victims, one of the cops that was shot, was he had made a statement that he looked Imam Jamil in his eyes and so on and so forth. Can you speak on that? Because we know that there's some major contradictions in his height, eye color, etc.
Oh yes, the officer that survived the shooting incident, Deputy Algernon English, said that he said that his mother always told him to look a man in his eyes, and when he looked at the man, he said the man he was in a shooting altercation with, he said that he would never forget those cold gray eyes. Imam Jamil's eyes are not cold gray. Imam Jamil Al-Amin's eyes are brown. And Imam Jamil usually wears prescription glasses which are tinted yellow. He wears them in the daytime and in the nighttime. So there's no way that Deputy Algernon English could have looked Imam Jamil dead in his eyes. In fact, the records show that at the very beginning of the altercation, a bullet hit the canister, the tear gas canister on the belt of Deputy Algernon English, and he blinded. So that whole aspect of what he was seeing and what he was saying were untruthful, because there was a bulletin, there was an announcement sent out which described the assailant with having gray eyes, and he was going by what the police bulletin had said. He wasn't going by his memory, because his memory could not have seen cold gray eyes. However, and also that he said the gunman was about 5'8". Otis Jackson, on the other hand, who was shot that night, is about 5'9". He said on the witness stand, and there's a video that you can show, and I hope you show and watch and have your watching viewing audience watch that video, where from the witness stand, in an unrelated matter, Otis Jackson gives his height as 5'9", and that he wore glasses, and his glasses were silver. So if he had been looking at Otis Jackson, he would have seen somebody fit close to the description that he gave. If he had been looking at Imam Jamil, he would have seen someone much taller. Imam Jamil is light brown in complexion, has brown eyes, and is 6'5". I'm 6'3", and he stands taller than me. So, so the fact that he gave that description and said that he shot the person that shot him, and that he is a marksman. You know, he had the nerve to come to court with his and have some of his medals. He wore his sheriff deputy's uniform, which had some of the medals from when he was in the U.S. military, and one of those medals indicated that he was a marksman. But not only he made the statement that he shot his assailant, but they have, as one of the last dying statements, the statements before Deputy Kinchin succumbed to his wounds, was that he had shot his assailant. So you have two officers saying they shot this person. And the person that confessed to being the shooter in the incident has been shot, fits the description. Imam Jamil was not shot and did not fit the description at all.
So, Baba Bilal, playing, you would say, cracker's advocate, right? Okay, so you're saying that you have this, you got someone that fits the description. You got someone who has confessed. He was shot, and all things seem to match up. He said on television that he knew for a fact Imam Jamil didn't shoot these two officers who came to serve a traffic ticket warrant in the middle of the night. Why would you think that they would be more interested in putting the bag on Imam Jamil's head opposed to this other guy who's made this claim and who fit the description? Why would you say that? Just for the Fox News audience and the Negroes out there who might not necessarily go with this narrative?
Well, one of the things that we understand about Otis Jackson, or James Santos or Silas Muhammad, is that he has taken his shahada, that he had taken his declaration of faith, and he was in his statements, he was being truthful. The reason why we believe Imam Jamil is because we've always known Imam Jamil to be truthful, and we didn't see why would he not be truthful in this instance. We never knew James Santos, but we understood that he was a Muslim, and he was being truthful in his statements, and he was being truthful in his statements, and so. Besides the fact that he fit the description and had been shot, first of all, we accept the truth of someone who obeys the command to stand up for justice and be a witness, even if it's against yourself. To be a witness, even if against yourself. And that's a hard piece to roll with. And to roll with and say, well, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison if I say this. But yet he said it. So
and
that's
consistently said it.
His motivation for saying it is consistent with his lifestyle and his beliefs. And their motivation for putting Imam Jamil in behind bars is consistent. It's consistent with their lifestyle and their beliefs. I mean, they believe that Imam Jamil should be locked up, and they had been wanting to lock him up and to keep him locked up. That incident that Brother Jalil earlier referred to, which took place in Cambridge, Maryland, where he was charged with subordinating arson and with subordinating a riot. was what that whole story of him urging people to burn the place down and urging the people to riot was admittedly created by William B. Yates, who was a district attorney in the county where Cambridge, Maryland is. He admitted that in open court in November of 1973, a few years after that incident. He admitted it in open court in a hearing that was being conducted in which attorney William Kunstler was representing Imam Jamil. And former district attorney William B. Yates admitted that he came up with those charges in conjunction with the FBI lying so that they could begin a paper trail on H. Rap Brown. So leaving Cambridge, Maryland, he had to go to Washington, D.C., where the SNCC office was, and he had to go to Alexandria, Virginia, where the airport was. So that had him crossing 2 state jurisdictions, which automatically had him under the FBI as being crossing state lines to avoid, they say prosecution, but we say, he was crossing lines, not to avoid prosecution because he wasn't told that he was charged with arson or charged with rioting or trying to start a riot. He wasn't told that, so he didn't have. When he was he was just merely going on his way home, on his way back to Baton Rouge to be with his family. But William B. Yates created those lies, and the FBI were waiting for those lies to be put out there so that they could begin their paper trail. And so there was a constant issue of Imam Jamil, of H. Rap Brown, who he was known by at that time, of being in jail, getting arrested, getting released, and getting re-arrested. And that became the image of H. Rap Brown, constantly being arrested by local authorities and by federal authorities at different points in the country, and finally being arrested in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and being arrested in New Orleans, Louisiana, and that the whole purpose in telling those lies was to create that series of events and create that scenario where people would think of H. Rap Brown in terms of this rowdy guy who's starting riots, etc. So them taking him into custody, that was very consistent with their practice and with their beliefs.
May I interject, Bilal? Is that what you just said reaffirms my thinking as to why he was targeted, because they was engaged in planning this coup in Iraq. Right? They planned to invade Iraq, and they didn't want his voice out there in support of the Muslims, right? In regards to this invasion of the U.S. U.S. invasion in Iraq, and they knew he was able to champion the issues of Muslims, and therefore he was targeted in the way that he was, and that's the reason why they won't release him now, because now, they try to prevent his release now. Allah is the best of planners, right? Because he was able of articulating the issues and being heard on these issues. And I think that's where we are today, that our fight for his liberation, fight for his freedom is basically truth-telling, right? We are telling the truth on this enemy, on our common enemy, and the liars that they are, right? They have been liars from day one. And so it's important for us to really put forth the whole scenario from which Imam Jamil Al-Amin was confronting or had been confronted by a state-sanctioned conspiracy, right, to lock him up, to put him away. From the time of Maryland, Cambridge, Maryland, to the date of what happened in Atlanta. Thank you.
And furthering what Jamil has just pointed out, there's an incident which we should never forget, in which Imam Jamil, as the Amir of a national community, spoke in Washington, D.C. It was a rally held by indigenous Muslims and immigrant Muslims in support of the victims of Bosnia. The Muslims in Bosnia were victims of a movement called ethnic cleansing, which was being led by the United States, which was being carried out by mercenaries led by the United States. And Imam Jamil spoke out about the victims of the ethnic cleansing of Muslims in Europe, and spoke out very forcefully. And as Brother Jalil says, he was a voice of clarity around the misdeeds of the United States government in regard to Muslims being oppressed in another part of the world. And also, at that same time, there were Muslims from Bosnia living in Atlanta, living in a housing project which they had been allowed to live in. They were being harassed because the local, the brothers saw this group of white people in the projects, and they thought, oh wow, these some white people, they don't even speak English. This can be a role. And Imam Jamil and brothers from the West End were very instrumental in educating the community as to who these refugees from the ethnic cleansing were, and told you better not mess with them. So that was this. This is the activity of Imam Jamil that was directly involved, giving this is exactly as Brother Jalil pointed out. He was a clear voice and a clear deterrent to the misunderstanding that and the lies that and propaganda that the United States government puts out. He was a clear voice against that.
And so I want to throw in even underlying that, as well as this theme that comes out is of Imam as a unifying voice across the board, whether it was between, and when we say indigenous, what we mean are Muslims who basically out of the Black community who has had Islam in our community, at least coming out of slavery since the 1920s, right? So when we say indigenous, we're fundamentally talking about Muslims out of the Black community who've held this down all these years. But between the indigenous and the immigrant communities, between the Muslim community and the Black community, between all of the different national Muslim communities, because at one point he was also, I just saw a video of Imam Jamil speaking to the Islamic Society of North America, which is primarily, I believe, Arab based in the Arab community. And then, relations with the Islamic Circle of North America, which is predominantly South Asian. So he's played this unifying role that has at its core the question of truth and justice, and the question of speaking against the kind of machinations of the State Department and the U.S. war machine. So I think that that's another really important, and between the young brothers, because we have to bring into that, the efforts by Imam Jamil in terms of bringing the young brothers in the street organizations, euphemistically called gangs, that history, and bringing peace between them. And so it's been a constant, practice on his part of building organization and building unity amongst varying forces who would be at each other and confused about who their friends are and who their enemies are, who's creating the fitna and who's creating and where does unity lie, and what are the basis of which to really struggle, and what is the basis for self-discipline, both from the individual level to the collective and organizational, from the national to the international levels. So I think that's an important aspect of Imam Jamil's work and practice and history and character.
I want to point out, and definitely appreciate, the commentary coming from all three of you. I want to point out that Imam Jamil has been locked up for the last 23 years. You mentioned that, of course, he's under federal custody or federal prisoner. In 2 days, he will be 80 years old. And I need that to sink in, because I think that, folks, they look at a situation and they see, H. Rap Brown, and they hear the history and they hear Imam Jamil Al-Amin, like so many other quote unquote aging political prisoners. We've had recently, a few years ago, maybe a year or two ago, we had Sundiata Acoli released. I believe he was 84 when he got out. We have Rochelle McGee, who served 67 years. 67 years in prison. I mean, I need this to sink in, because I know that many of the folks in our audience, we haven't even had the opportunity to arrive at 67. So, we mentioned that Jalil did 50 years. You know what I'm saying? Imam Jamil is going on 80 years old. On that alone, that should be reason enough for him to be released, let alone the fact that there's no physical or scientific evidence pointing Imam Jamil Al-Amin to this particular situation. What are what I want to ask you all, because we unfortunately we have to wrap, and of course we have other things that will be coming up this week and beyond. So I want to ask, one, what are some of the things that are going on his born date, because we know that we will be commemorating his birthday, particularly here in the city of Atlanta. But I also want to ask, what are some things that our listeners and viewers can do that are practical and functional, and not just, say that this is a damn shame, and, I'm gonna sign this petition, and man, I hope you get out, and all this other, empty rhetoric. What are some of the other things that folks can do, and what are some of the activities that's taking place? And either one of you can answer that.
So this coming Wednesday, October 4th, which is Imam Jamil's birthday, there will be in Atlanta a car caravan targeting the commissioner for the Department of Corrections. Bilal can remind me of his name.
Tyrone Oliver.
Right. We will be gathering at West End Park at 11:30, and we're going downtown to point the finger. We have been trying to get Imam Jamil transferred back to Georgia so that he can work on his case and be close to attorneys. And so we urge folks in the Atlanta area, or if you're within an hour, a couple of hours of Atlanta, to come down and join the car caravan. We will be building and strengthening both the activities that are going on in Atlanta, starting out, well, not starting, but continuing those activities in Atlanta. But coming this Wednesday, car caravan will be going through downtown. We'll be checking in front of the courthouse and letting them know of our existence, and then headed over to around the Department of Corrections. Imam Jamil needs to be transferred back to Atlanta so he can be close to family, be close to his attorneys. I'll let Brother Bilal also deal with all of the media events. I also put a plug in on October 14th down here in Savannah, Georgia, like 4 hours south of Atlanta. We will be doing a program out in the community around Imam Jamil, and also with Brother Kamal, the case of Brother Kamal Siddiqui. But we will be doing out in the community with speakers and information tables. It's our fifth fish fry, community unity fish fry. And with speakers and information tables, our themes this year are political prisoners, free all our political prisoners, healthcare, and workers' rights. So we're inviting folks to come down to Savannah. We'll be in the Felwood neighborhood, and it starts at 3 p.m. on Saturday, October 14th. And I'll let Baba Bilal give all of the media events and activities. There is a petition at freeimamjamil.org, and it calls for his transfer. That is the main thing that we're pushing for at the moment. Of course, we want him freed. The Fulton County Conviction Integrity Unit has been at work. They have interviewed Otis Jackson, and finally, after all these years, and so that truth is there. But the Department of Corrections is blocking Imam Jamil's transfer to Georgia and participation directly in the case, and as well as blocking his release. And so that's where the target is right now. And then I'll throw it to Baba Bilal for the media events.
Yeah, we'll be. There will be a media blitz, and this media blitz, as well as these calls to action, just as they are taking place on his birthday, they are like his birthday, the beginning of a renewed effort, renewed on the part of IJAN, and renewed on the part of other advocacies and advocacy groups and sponsors, supporters of Imam Jamil, to be actively keeping his name alive, be actively seeking out things. There's one to give on that day, for instance, there'll be on WRFG, a local community radio station, we'll be having starting at midnight that Wednesday morning, that Tuesday night at midnight, there'll be a radio broadcast, simultaneous podcast of Imam Jamil, in support of Imam Jamil, in which we'll have interviews with myself, other members of IJAN from around the country, and also featuring an ex-SNCC worker, a former SNCC worker by the name of Mae Jackson, who many of you may know that name. She'll be joining us on that day, October 14th at midnight. And then again, on WRFG at 12 noon, while the caravan is being assembled and about to pull off. We will have another special on radio on WRFG, and that's 89.3 FM for locals, and www.urfg.org on the World Wide Web. And so that'll be at 12, again, 12 midnight and 12 noon on community station WRFG, as well as there will be the next day programs on WBAI. We've already had programs on WPFW, and we are looking forward to, we've been making contact with Pacifica stations. We have at WRFG uh, a former SNCC worker and a family friend of Imam Jamil's family. Her name is Heather Gray, and she's a program director for program director for Pacifica stations across the country, and she's the chairperson of the Pacifica affiliates, those stations who are not part of the Pacifica network, but who do programming, who have agreed to take up the case of our political prisoners as a major issue on all Pacifica stations, and they will be continuing with what we start on the birthday of Imam Jamil, and they'll be continuing that effort. They promise to help us in continuing that effort in spreading the word about political prisoners and Imam Jamil in particular. And also, we tend to, with the call to action of having this caravan and thing of the community going on his birthday, we also intend to increase that to at least monthly, but the fervor is growing to have it be more than monthly. So we're looking forward to this great day, October 4th, as the birthday of our warrior, which he probably doesn't even celebrate his own birthday. He probably would say, "Oh, it's my birthday," but we are gonna celebrate it, and we're gonna call the world. Use that as a point to call the world to action, to back into action, and we will be continuing to have calls to action as well as media activity on all media platforms, as well as forums that will go into details so that people can, as one of our forums was called Relearning H. Brown, and in the Relearning H. Brown, come to a clear understanding of who Imam Jamil Al-Amin is. Those are the things we want to do. And that we want to encourage people to visit our website, www.imamjamilactionnetwork.org, and also visit the website What Happened to Rap. What happened? Number 2, rap. The word rap, or the name rap.com. And on that, that's a website that's established and run by his son Kyrie Al-Amin, who is the point person on his legal team, and Kyrie Al-Amin, who passed the bar, the Atlanta Bar Association, just several years ago, is now a legal voice in the struggle to free his father, Imam Jamil Al-Amin, from this egregious situation that he's confronted with. And we also, www.whathappenedtorap.com. Another important website is freeimamjamil.com. Freeimamjamil.com is a website that's run by the another advocacy group, Students for Imam Jamil. Students for Imam Jamil have this website, freeimamjamil.com. And on that website, as well as on our website, you can find the petition that's targeting Tyrone Oliver, the Commissioner of Prisons, and that's designed to bring him back to Georgia. To bring him back to Georgia for the purpose of thoroughly investigating the circumstances of the mistrial, and to have a new trial, but hopefully to exonerate and free him without even going through the because with the evidence that's shown so far, there is necessity for a new trial. They just need to go ahead and free and exonerate him. But at that website, you will not only find that petition you can sign, which, by the way, I don't know if it was mentioned that the members of the Conviction Integrity Unit have signed our petition. And we think that is a very good sign that the district attorney of Fulton County, and who heads the Fulton County Conviction Integrity Unit, has signed our petition to free Imam Jamil and to bring him back to Atlanta, Georgia, where the process can continue, leading to his eventual freedom and exoneration of those ridiculous charges.
Baba Bilal, if I could just jump in, folks can also go to Linktree Free Imam Jamil, and that will link them to several of the websites around Imam Jamil, make donations, and get in writing some of that case information that we ran down today, as well as a letter to the Department of Justice and all of that.
Yeah, as well as of things, of action items other action items that people can do to engage in. One of the things that Imam Jamil tells us, and I know when I ask him what should people do, he tells me to tell you all people to do whatever is easiest for them. Do whatever is easiest for them. No major demand. But if everybody who knew about the case did something that was easy for them to do, then that would lead to a lot of people doing a little bit of things, but a lot of people getting a lot of things done. So that goes from donating to campaigning for other political prisoners. And I want to point out the reason why we can't, on behalf of all political, our call is free them all, but we campaign on behalf of Kamal Siddiqui, because Kamal Siddiqui is a brother, veteran Black Liberation Army, who was a co-defendant of Assata Shakur, who is being she's living in Havana, Cuba, enjoying political asylum, and the FBI told Siddiqui that unless he joined them, lure Assata Shakur away from that zone of safety and political asylum where she could be captured, he would spend the rest of his life in prison. And when he was tried for a case that was 30 years old, a cold case which there was no evidence of him doing it. He was tried by Judge Stephanie Manis, the same judge who tried Imam Jamil just 2 years before that. And the prosecution was led by Robert McBurney, the same prosecutor, the same federal prosecutor who led the prosecution against Imam Jamil just 2 years prior before that in his trial. We know that these two cases are connected because both Robert McBurney and Stephanie Manis have moved up the ladder in their career because of their job of putting on this fake, phony show of a trial in both instances that resulted in the arrest and resulted in the conviction and holding in prison of two of our great freedom fighters. So we Kamal Siddiqui as well.
Yes. I appreciate you all coming on. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I want to remind folks to check out our social media. We will have flyers. I know that Jalil mentioned a function he has on Friday. We'll post it on our social medias to remind folks also what's going on Wednesday on Imam Jamil Al-Amin's 80th birthday. We're calling on brothers and sisters and comrades and allies, supporters from around the world. If you can't make it to Atlanta, if you can't do nothing else but post a picture of Imam Jamil on your social media, make that your social media. Hashtag free Imam Jamil. Let's get the information out about our comrade, our elder, our OG, someone who has dedicated his life and his family's life, including his brother Ed. May he continue to rise in peace, in power, and we're going to continue this fight to not only free Imam Jamil, as Baba Bilal mentioned, but Kamal Siddiqui, Veronza Bowers, and countless others who are being held behind these walls in under these maximum sentences, etc. We're all in general population, we're clear, but we have brothers and sisters behind the wall right now who are suffering, and if the state has their way, they will die behind the walls. But we're not looking at the state for their version. We're looking to a higher power, and we'll continue to fight. So we say free them all. We appreciate you all coming on board today. This is RSTV, Black Power Media. If it's your first time coming to the platform, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, support our Patreon if you like it. If you like what you hear and see, we have a number of different programs coming up this week. We have about 18 different podcasts and programs on this platform currently, and we will be increasing. And again, we appreciate your support. This is RSTV. Again, gratitude, comrades, for coming on board. May Allah reward you and be pleased with your efforts, and may we all live to see Imam Jamil walk out of behind those gates unscathed.
Amen.
What's the call?
Free them all.
Free them all. That's right.
Y'all be safe.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wow.
I got a rally I got to go to, so I'm out.
Okay, right on, brother.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one. Well, the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares. Mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces when it's on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Well, my inner me